Hello, everyone, and thanks for taking time to view this content. I must say that 3 years ago, I went on a quest to look at AI. I did several videos, and if you want to know what was happening then and how it connects to now, please make sure you subscribe to my channel and follow me as I explore these concepts of AI on the move. All right, now we have moved so far in AI technologies that 3 years ago I would not have thought about this. I knew it was coming and I thought about it in some way, but not to the extent of what I'm seeing now. Now, with the emergence of ChatGPT 3 and other technologies which are continuing to improve, we must continue to explore the ethical considerations. In all my videos, and I've produced several videos, and as a matter of fact, maybe over 50 videos I've created regarding some connections to AI or VR, I have always made sure to include the need to consider ethics. You must consider ethics. And here we are now at a point where everyone is saying, how can we address it? If we do not create technology within an ethical framework, then we're going to have problems. I'm saying to educators, to institutions, and to content creators, you must consider the ethics as you design whatever you're doing. We cannot operate in a context that is a free-for-all. And of course, at some point in time, that needs to be considered. Therefore, for those who are saying it's okay, it's not okay. So let me tell you what we need to consider as relates to ethics and some points that you must consider moving forward within any debate as it relates to artificial intelligence in the education system. Now, let me get started and consider some of the areas that I'm thinking of. Now, the first thing is data. Many of these technologies today are scraping data from millions of pages to cement them into one fundamental text that individuals can have. Now think about it. I wrote a paper, you wrote a paper, someone else contributed something, or someone asked a question, and now it has been cemented in such a way that it's presented to me as one fluent piece of work. I have a question. Now, the data that they're scraping could be personal data too, and we have to understand that because there is where it comes in. Ethics as relates to the data and what it's collecting. Having said that, now let us move on to another point, biases and discrimination. In my most recent video, I highlighted 3 images that were produced by the AI system. In all the query of the AI system, I asked the same question and substituted the place. For example, I asked, show me poverty in the United States, and it popped up a picture. Show me poverty in the Caribbean. It popped up another picture. And show me poverty in Africa. It showed me another picture. And of course, I submitted these requests multiple times to ensure the output was within the context of what I was doing. And all 3 occasions, the poverty representation was that of someone that is Black. We know that cannot be. Regardless of the color of your skin, you can be poor. So poverty association with the color is so incorrect by the AI system. Therefore, based on how an AI system is trained, it can produce information that is discriminatory, biased, and of course, exclude others. So you see what I'm getting at? There are some things that we must consider. Now, let's move on to the other point. How is the information put together? Do we know the algorithm that drives the information and how it's collected and so forth? No one knows Facebook algorithmic codes that they use to highlight certain speech and so forth. And no one might have an idea of how the GPT system is working. Therefore, how these decisions have been arrived to give you the information is something that we need to consider. Therefore, there must be transparency in how the information is consolidated for our use. And I say our because at some point during the day, you will come across text that is going to be designed by an AI system. Frightening? That's a reality. But let me say that this conversation has not been designed by an AI system. And you can see that I'm flowing, I'm looking straight into the camera, and I have no teleprompter. I'm just talking as I'm moving on. Now, my other point is, I've always said that teaching is a social practice, requires interaction, and as a matter of fact, the human connection is necessary. Many universities have somewhat moved away from that, where you know what, you set it and forget it course is somewhat outlined. Now, let us look at it from another perspective. Do we think the AI will replace teachers and support groups? Certainly not. But the ethical issue is that students want to be working with someone that's human. How many times you pick up your phone and you're talking to an AI system, press 1, says press 2. And I'm saying to myself, could you just say, operator, get me back to someone who can help me solve this problem? Because I do not want to be in a loop. No, the AI system will not have that capacity. So human interactions will be necessary for us to have an enhanced student learning experience. I've not reached that stage that I want a robot to be talking to me or a chatbot to be talking to me consistently. I love the human connection. I love to see networks with people and to collaborate and to go into work and to exchange some ideas with my fellow colleagues. I still like that. Now, let us move on to another critical point that you must consider as it relates to ethics in the use of AI in higher education. One of the things I have come across that I realized there is a need for critical thinking. We consistently minimize certain discussions, minimize certain tasks, and ask students to do things that are easy for us to mark or to assess. But what about critical thinking? If students are able to put a question that you ask them to elicit critical thinking in a search engine and get a complete text, what's that? What is that doing for creativity? Yes, my fear is that as we move forward and we do not regulate these systems and we do not have software that can identify these sort of fabricated stories submitted or students that have submitted to us, then we lose certain things. We lose the validation of our work, the validation of our profession, the validation of who we are. Because if you can fabricate things and you can push it out as your own, you are indeed lying. We saw where recently someone fabricated a resume and that created a lot of problems, because eventually when you start moving away these pages, you realize there's no substance because you cannot submit or present using topic sentences. There's always going to be the expert in the room that wants a validation of what you're doing by research or by a literature review or by something else. There needs to be validation. So there's an ethical issue for me. How do you validate the content that we're reading online, the content that someone is presenting, as well as the content that is going to exist to represent our historical context as we speak now? If students lack critical thinking, of course, then their creativity, their innovation, and of course, that will impact our nation's innovation will be affected. So let's think about that critical thinking part because I think it's so important. Now, let's move on to another critical ethical issue that we must address. We have seen in our education across the globe where there's an issue of access. This technology is now available for individuals to use, right? Those who have access to internet, who have access to a computer or a mobile device, and they can use the information. But think globally, we do not have access everywhere in the world, right? So there might be a digital divide as it relates to this technology, again, pushing people more advanced in areas and those remaining in the same place or space that they have been in for years because of the lack of technology. So if we are truly to serve humanity in the way we should ensure that individuals have access to various technologies and so forth to ensure that they are not out as it relates to getting the technology to advance their economic well-being. I think that's clearly stated. And this sort of thought applies to all modes of technologies. As technology increases, and I'm talking AI and all the technology used in education, we have to understand that we have to have accountability. For example, someone uses an AI algorithm in class that produces false information. Who has responsibility for that? Does the tutor have that responsibility? Or you can say it was the AI system. So therefore, there must be accountability. That means that educators will need to investigate the sort of app and the sort of thing they're using in their online course. It's so important that this is done because without that ultimate responsibility, then we'll be taking additional risk that can be detrimental to those who are around us, as well as those who are engaging in whatever use of that technology. Now, let us look at another perspective as it relates to ethical issues. Higher education is now using various forms of technologies. Some have used chatbots and continue to develop their chatbots and others are using various forms of technology to communicate with their students. As we move on in using and deploying these technologies, we must remember that the AI system has no conscience. It has no feelings. It has no emotions. It's so important that we explore the importance of this. I see so many times that we're moving away from it. And I'm saying to myself, can we just teach? Can we just design courses that will lead to greater human interaction without additional technologies? I am convinced that we can still do it, even if we need to be stepping back a bit. Now, let's move on. Now, let us explore the importance of this technology. Should we throw it away? No. Should we say, all right, not going to be using it at all for certain purposes? Well, somewhat. But what I want to say to you is that we can use the technology responsibly. We have to understand the consequences, how we're going to use it. And of course, we need to balance the technology with the potential risk and negative consequences. All this being said, there are so many things that I have left out, but I'm sure another video presentation will somewhat set this in stage. But I want to say to you, as we think about technology, we have to think about the risk. We have to think about those who will be excluded. And we have to think about our responsibility to ensure that what is there represents information that is not biased, that is inclusive. And somehow it's going to take a lot of effort because students are using it and other individuals are using it. Even it can be used to do destructive things. We have come a far way and we have to embrace it. But let us not say it's going to be the worst tool ever created. Let us embrace the technology, set guidelines, be ethical. Finally, I want to say thanks for viewing this video. And if you have any thoughts regarding AI and the future, please drop a line as you respond to this video. Thanks for viewing. And at this point in time, I'm out.